Okay, so last time we actually set up WSL and we looked at how Windows C drive, specifically some documents folder, is related to the Linux uh, terminal directories as well. So basically, you can view and edit access files from Windows right from within the WSL. So let's go ahead this time. So I don't know what this error is. Let's hope this will work manually. So last time we did this WSL install, but since we already have things installed, we don't have to do this. Instead, what we can do is just type in WSL, and this should get us into the default distribution, which is Ubuntu, or the default installed distribution. If you haven't installed WSL already, you'd have to perform WSL install first, and after that, from the next time, you can do this like WSL on simply by typing in WSL. And of course, it is best to do the WSL install from a admin terminal. But right now we are not using an admin terminal. We are using a regular terminal because everything is already set up. We just need to get into our WSL installation. So now we are in. As you can see, the prompt has changed. We are the same. We are in the same directory. C users repository. This was our Windows directory, but C drive is actually mapped to /mnt/c. This is where all the whole C drive is present. Uh, we are able to access C drive from this place, and since users repository, this actually now becomes similar to what you are expecting. So if you type in ls, which is the command for listing the files and directories, subdirectories in this current directory. So if you type in this one, you see all this getting rendered here, getting shown here. And we also talked about in the last video that this backward slash with in Linux or Unix like systems, we don't use backward slashes like this because backward slashes has a special meaning in programming, and Linux is kind of more in tune with the developer side of things. So basically, so that's why we use in Unix systems we use forward slashes for as a path separator. Now we talked about if we want to move into a say directories, we can say documents, and of course you don't have to type the whole thing. You can just say docu or sufficient number of letters and then hit tab, and it will try to auto complete that. Of course, if there is more than one entry in starting from D, you would not be able to see it directly. But if you hit tab twice, it will show you the list of possible entries, which is desktop documents and downloads. So here, let's say we go to documents, DOW, sufficient letters to make this non-ambiguous. So and now if we hit tab, it says documents. But notice it doesn't just run the command directly because you may choose to go inside documents or directly go inside something inside of documents. For this, let's say we don't know what is inside of documents or don't remember, then if we hit tab once, it doesn't do anything because it cannot autocomplete from 0 letters. But if you hit tab again, it will show you what are the possible options we have in documents. So notice we are still in repository in our home directory. Uh, we haven't moved anywhere. We just checking all the possible combinations. So CD documents. Now let's say if we go our previous activities programming, we just say P and then hit tab to get us to programming. And then if you remember, we had a hello world directory, which is where we are testing. We are using as a sample directory for our test. So, and with this, we are immediately inside documents and programming, then hello world. So now if we do ls, we'll see that this contains only a single file, main.c. And if you want to go back, we just say okay, cd dot dot slash, then again dot dot. The first dot dot, this will get us to programming until here. And then if we say okay, dot dot again, which is dot dot is basically last time we talked about dot dot. It basically is you can think of it as like a reference to the parent directory. So when you want to move to the parent directory, or in simpler terms, if you want to go back to the previous directory, we there is no special command like back or go back or no previous something like that. Instead, we use the change directory command again, but and we use the reference to the parent directory dot dot. So when we say dot dot, it basically say cd dot dot. So it means change to the directory pointed to by this reference, and dot dot means the parent directory. So we move out of this current directory and go to this one. So if we say cd dot dot, the last trailing slash, this is 11th here. You can type in this one this way, or you can add trailing slash. It doesn't matter. But if you want to, okay, let's go this one. Now you can see we are out of hello world, but programming and documents are still there. We are still inside programming, but out of hello world. Now if we cd dot dot again, we come out of programming into documents. But let's say we want to come out of documents as well, and you say okay, go to the parent directory. Then inside that parent directory, we go to its parent directory, which is supposed to be our home directory, the Windows home, basically the Windows users home directory. So if we do this, then we can see this we are basically here in this level. Now since we are able to move around with cd, let's talk about some other things, like let's check out the whole, go beyond this home directory. If we go beyond this one, we see all users, default user, public, and the current user. And from this we can actually verify with this one, C drive, and then users, and we see public, and this one all users is a link, and default user, these two are links. And these extra files actually come in because of this, and this is a WSL setup. In actual uh, in actual Linux setup, when you load a Windows drive, you can actually do an actual proper Linux installation and then use your Windows drive. I mean, load up your Windows drive. Then you might not be able to, you might not be seeing this. But anyway, all the directories in Windows, public and Microsoft, it's actually available here. Now, if you go beyond this one, and by the way, just to make it clear, show you something. So this also behaves like a similar sense to CD. The way we do, okay, say CD retrieval, uh, notice this backslash here. It's because it has a space. Now let's talk about the backslash first actually. Uh, so when there is a space, CD thinks, if we do it like this one, then it will think CD, we are providing retrievers and repository separately. But we know that it's not true, because the whole name combined forms the directory name. Because the whole thing is the directory name itself contains a space. You can see that wherever space is there, it is being quoted with a single quote. So what we have to do is, if we want to go directly to this one, we have to type in single quote around this, then this one. But suppose you don't want to type the single quote, Then what we can do is we can say okay, mm, go to class and backslash this. So backslash is typically read as escape. So what it means is that escape the space, the next character, which is a space. Escape basically means don't treat the next character as a as you would nor as you would do normally. So the by default, if you do space, these two things become separate. But when we say okay, don't treat the space normally, so it, by we add the backslash character, so this spells the space has a special meaning, and in this case, it means that this because the normal meaning is to separate these two. So when you add a backslash before the space, the space should not do its normal job, and the whole thing would be treated as a single thing. So now if you do cd repository, you see wherever wherever you do everything in single quote, you can do double quote as well, and or we don't use the quotes and escape the character with a escape the space with a backslash. It means the same thing. Now to find it at the point home, you can say it is equals. If you type it like this, then you say cd is bash is our bash is like think of bash like the PowerShell. Uh, it's a Unix or Linux shell. There are many shells available actually. Like in Windows, you have PowerShell and command prompt, the old command prompt, which nobody now uses, I hope. Uh, but Linux has many shells. One of the more popular one is the Bash, and you can switch it out actually. You can use any of the shells you like. But currently, the default shell in Ubuntu and many distros is Bash. So Bash is basically complaining, saying if CD is complaining, which CD is complaining with too many arguments. So CD is saying CD is expecting only one entry to go to the directory, but your CD is saying you are providing me too many arguments, too many entries. So CD doesn't work with these two things. CD doesn't handle this. So instead, what you have to do is either have to do this, okay, to make CD believe okay this is a single entry, or we do it like a quote. Okay. And the same thing we can actually do it here. C users, which was notice that in Windows it doesn't require the escaping this character because Windows already has this as a separator. So if you do it add the slash here, it doesn't work. Mm. So Windows treats space always treats space the normal way, so it doesn't split this. So as you can see, Windows name system defined name also has spaces in between. But in most Linux systems, unless when user specifically creates a file name or a directory with a space in it, the Linux system files or system directories will never contain a space in that name in their name. And most of the time you would not see capital letters being used. There are some exceptions, but most of the time you would not see capital letters. But the space is almost kind of a. So if you do this one now, if you see we are in this cycle. So this is of course this is a this seems backward using this when you can actually uh, see users equals vocabulary and then go to documents and then programming. It basically brings us at the same place. When using a GUI, it doesn't make sense to go like this way. But Linux is not meant just for GUI. Of course, Linux has GUI. We'll move to that. I will not install GUI from this one, EWSL here. But Linux has GUI, but the core of it is actually accessible either from GUI uh, or CLI. This is called a command-based interface. You can actually use the command-based interface also, because GUI, not every system needs a GUI. For example, a server GUI adds some resources. It doesn't. Linux wants to be lean and thin when deployed in a server. So that's why adding the GUI there, it doesn't make sense. But you still have to access the whole system, configure the whole system. So that's why everything is possible right from this command line. So when you see this prompt, you are basically seeing at an access point from where you can configure, access, and modify everything that is possible in the map. And now let's go back. Okay, now let's see what is outside of this C directory, or cd dot slash. Now we are at C drive. If we can verify this with saying, okay, program data, Windows Auto, this is program files x86. This is the basically contents of the C drive, as you can verify it here. But what is present outside of this C? If you go and take a look, mnt/mnt, we have C, which is our C drive, WSL and WSLG. These are again WSL maintained directories. We will not go much deeper into this, because we'll just show you what is present. Results.conf, this is a file. I will not go much deeper into this, but think of it, it is actually helpful for, it actually handles your internet connectivity. So the Windows machine is connected to internet. The Linux system, or the WSL, has to know how to connect to the internet from via Windows. So this is one part of that in this file. We come back to this, because because this is text-based system, almost every configuration is kept in some file. So we don't have there is let that sink in for a minute. Uh, so in Windows, when you configure network, you go to this one, right click on network and system settings, internet settings, and then you think, okay, this new settings at stress. You go to the older network or control center, and or you maybe prefer this new one, whatever it is. Basically, do it from GUI using mouse clicks and everything. But in Linux, of course, this file is not the whole. Uh, it doesn't completely. Is not the complete configuration for internet connectivity, but this is a part of it. Once we get to an actual Linux system, which we will get to in a while, uh, then we will see how this internet everything is laid out in actual files. Every configuration is present in files, and we'll discuss about why is that so. But for now, let's move out of WSL and let's move out of MNT as well. So now we are at slash. You see, we cannot. There is nothing beyond MNT. There is nothing beyond MNT, but we cannot go beyond slash. If you type in cd dot the slash, there's nothing beyond this thing. So this directory is called the root directory, or the like a, if you see the directory as a tree, then this is the main branch, basically the root of the tree, and the main trunk of the tree. And then from this one, this directory, everything basically spreads out. So now, so that's why this is the starting point. Everything must start at slash. Slash is the root directory. You call it root directory, or you can think of it like the trunk of the tree, like the place from where everything spreads out. So now, if you remember, we can hit the keybind Control L to clear the screen. We are at the root directory, and if we do ls, we can see these directories. Don't worry about what this means right away, because there is no point being given for memorizing everything what each of directories has. We'll get to each of them when it's actually relevant for us. But the main thing we need to see is there is nothing something like a C drive in a proper Windows machine. In your Windows machine you might have other drives as well, like D drive, E drive, the CD-ROM and everything. So there is no such separation in Linux. Actually, there is separation, but it is shown in a different way. So everything starts with slash, and you saw that the whole C drive, this whole C drive is presented ls mnt c. You can see the whole C drive, the contents of the C drive, and we are listing the contents of mnt slash c, or basically you can also type in the proper path from the starting point mnt slash c, and we get the contents of the C drive. So the drive that we call it, it's a basically partition in the disk, in the hard disk. There is C drive. There may be more drives as well. So C drive is basically present in, it's loaded into mnt slash. So there is nothing outside of slash. The final one liner is basically there is nothing outside of slash. Everything has to be inside some place. If you want D drive as well, you can load it up to any directory here. Generally, mnt stands for actually mount, which is another name for which you can think of as another name for load. So basically, any drive or any partition that you load into Linux is present in mnt. Generally, outside partitions are loaded into mnt. You can mount load into, say, this one. You can load into, say, home. You can load into var. You can whatever you want. So for now, you're saying here everything starts from slash. We can go to any directory from using this path, and mnt slash c contains our C drive, which means if we want to go back to mnt slash c slash users referral directory, which is our home directory, then if we go this one, then of course we are again back at our Windows home directory. But if you want to go now, if you want to directly go to the root directory, we just say cd slash, which means go to the slash directory or the root directory. There's nothing, we don't type in mnt or anything. We just type in slash cd slash and we go to slash. Now let's clear the screen, type in ls, and we see these are our directories present in our whole Linux system. Now you might be thinking, see, Windows has this home directory. For every user, there is a home directory. Documents. This is the home directory. You have this one. This is the home directory. You have all these folders, documents, downloads, pictures, everything that is basically it's just it's like a home directory for your user. Where does Linux home exist? Now you might be thinking, where does Linux home exist? So where does Linux keep its user directory? Because Linux is a multi-user system. It was targeted thousands, if not thousands of users to be accessed at the same time in earlier. And where does it keep its home or its user directories, or the home directories for individual users? So there you might see this home is basically calling out to us with the same name. You can type in cd slash home, and we are here. It's a home directory. Think of it like a user's directory. When you say C drive users, It contains all the users. If I had more users, it would show up here. Similarly, here we have all the users, and currently you have only one user, which is Equaz. You can see this the Equaz user, and if we go into Equaz currently, if you type in ls, there is nothing here because we have not done anything in our Linux system. Every time we are just using the Windows uh, files, but this home directory or everything outside of MNT, this is basically part of Linux. So we are the home directory, of course. We can create files here. This is our place basically. So in yeah. in directory. Now if you see, every time this part shows the what which that you are currently at, but when you come into our home directory, this symbol changes into this tilde. It's called the tilde. It's the left character to the left key to the one, six left key to the one key, the left key to the one key. So this tilde, this has a special meaning. This means basically our home directory. So if we go to /mnt, we are here. Now if we directly want to go back to the home directory, we can see this tilde character, and we are back in our home directory. So think of it like a alias or a different name for our home directory. So every user, if multiple users have logged into the same system, when they type this command cd tilde, it would get them to their individual home directories. If say some user say XYZ or Joe is logged into the system and he types in cd slash, he would not be coming into slash home slash it was. Instead, he would be coming into slash home slash Joe. Now, to verify this, actually there is a command called pwd, which means print working directory, or you can think of it like it prints the or it displays what the current directory you are at. So when you type pwd, it says home slash equals which is our current directory. And of course, if you want to move back to this one, you need to remember window mntc, then users. Of course, I'm hitting tab every time to autocomplete because auxiliary, and this is our Windows home where we publish all these things. And if we go to slash home slash return, we are back at here. So so here there is a difference in model, difference in the way the systems are organized a bit. So in a Windows machine, we generally have a different drive for um, let's say we have photo, we can keep a different drive for photos, we can keep a different drive for movies, we can keep a different drive for work, CDEF, however we like, or we might file them up everything at the same place. But this C drive is taken by Windows. This is where the system directory is. Anything you install, it gets into the C drive. Uh, you can have any drive, any number. You can have a whole. If you have a 1 terabyte of 1 TB SSD or a hard disk, if you have an older system, you can have the whole 1 TB present as a C drive, or you can split it up into multiple drives. Whatever you do, Windows will use the C drive, and the program files will be there. Of course, you can configure to install applications in a separate directory, but the Windows thing would always be system in C drive, Windows system, and the system 32 Explorer, the main system file system. This also contains the system drivers and everything. Everything is the other files. Everything that is related to system will be present in a C drive. In Linux, this is not the case. Of course, everything starts from slash, but you can keep and of course this slash can be you can separate out partitions as you like, or you can keep everything as a single drive. Drive is actually a Windows thing, a Windows name to the actual partition in the disk. So the partition is there. Mm, you can basically say, okay, oh, I want the home to be on a separate partition, so that this one, or whatever you do. Okay, we already know home directory. Yeah. So whatever you do, you can split it out or keep it everything the same. But the general part is you don't in a proper window in a Linux system, everything that belongs to you it's supposed to go in this directory itself, your home directory. You keep your documents here, you keep your downloads here, you keep your big files here, anything you are working on. Let's say you are working on a video file, or you are working on a project, you downloaded you purchase and downloaded your music, or you create downloaded games to play. Everything that you own is supposed to go in your home directory. You can create subdirectory here to organize and everything, but generally the convention is to keep everything inside your home directory. This is the convention. Of course, you can keep it in separate drive and uh, separate places, organize as you wish, but this is the convention of keeping everything in your home directory. So now let's say we want to organize here a bit. Right now, if you see, there is nothing here, and we say okay, we have programming there, and let's say we create programming here. Mkdir is a short form, is the command which stands for make directory. Make directory mkdir. mm, mkdir, you might also have seen this in Windows as well. It might have a similar name or the same name. So when you type in mkdir programming, you are basically saying, okay, create a directory named programming in this current directory, which is your home directory. To create a directory called programming, and if we type in ls, we have a programming. And let's say if we type in mkdir downloads, let's say, or mkdir documents, now if we type in ls, we have these three directories inside this. Of course, we can go into any of this programming, and we are here. Now we can let's say we want to copy this file in our documents, programming, hello world, main.c. We want to copy this file into this one. Or better yet, let's go out of the programming into a home directory. Hit tab twice, and you can see all these directories being created. Don't worry about this thing yet. We'll come to this one, but this is basically a, a conventional place to keep all your configurations for your particular user. Like I said before, we every configuration is kept in a file. At least the convention says to keep it in a file. You can create programs that doesn't keep it in a file. I mean, you have to keep it in a file anyway. You have to keep in the file, but Linux convention is to keep that configuration in a file which is human readable. So basically, you can directly modify the file as a user. You don't have to use another tool to modify that configuration. All you need is a text editor, and you can modify that file. So now, forgetting that, let's say we go to documents. We are here, and let's say we want to create a new file. Let's say we create a you all you what you need now is a text editor. You can say, okay, in Notepad, if you are familiar with, when you if you don't have anything installed and you want to write something, save something, that you to note something, basically we use the notepad application. In in a Linux environment, if not, you use a text editor like Nano. So if you see Nano, if you create this thing, it shows up. It runs directly inside the terminal. You don't need a GUI for this. There are GUI applications available. There are things like Visual Studio Code and Firefox and File Manager like File Explorer. So they are available in Linux. But let's say you don't have the GUI yet. You have uh, nano install. If you are in Ubuntu, it might your if you choose the defined installation, it might not come with nano, but at any point there is a possibility that you can install nano and use it like a notepad. So like this is a random text file. I'm writing this using nano inside terminal. No GUI applications involved. Now, of course, to write it, this nano, there are other editors as well, but this actually helpful because of this one, I believe, because it actually shows you what commands you have to, what keybinds, because there is no mouse, you cannot, of course, it is because you cannot use mouse directly. Of course, it looks like it is actually using mouse, but this is because it's present in a Windows system, and Windows terminal is basically helping you to select this with his mouse. But if you see the cursor stays here, even if I click, it doesn't move. So everything has to be done using keyboard, because you don't get you might not have a mouse while connecting to server. So you don't need any extra, the minimal possible way to access the system. So this symbol, this caret symbol, this actually signifies control. So when you see this hat, I think this is called the hat character. So if we read it as control O, it's basically control O, when you write out, basically means save. Control O. It says, okay, we don't know the file name, which file name to write it in. So we type in, let's say, hello.txt, uh, and then we hit enter, and it says row 3 line, which means now it says hello.exe, which means it is the file is being written. And now to exit this thing, as you can see, it is control X. You don't need capital X, just it is convention to show it in capital letters. You can type in control X and it will exit. Now if you see ls, we have a hello.txt file, and if you remember, if you want to open this file again using nano, we say nano hello.txt, and we get the same file back. You can use the arrow keys to move, the home in similar keybinds work. You can move by word like you do in Windows, the control arrow key and everything. And when you are done, you just type it. Of course, you can edit it by running nano hello.txt. And if we do control O, it says, okay, it asks you to write which file to write in, but it by default it shows you the current name. So if you don't want to modify the original file, you can give it a special different name. But since we are modifying that, we want to modify the same file, we don't change anything and hit enter. uh, it rewrites the whole thing. And if we do control X, and now see, and this is there. Of course, if you want to just see the contents of the file but don't want to edit it, then you can also say cat hello.txt, Basically this reads the content of the file and writes it out directly in the terminal. You cannot edit it from this place. It's just a display of the whole file. That's it. Now to recap everything, uh, cdmnt c users repository. This is the Windows users home directory, and cd home tutorial is the user directory for the Linux user, which is called tutorial. This name will be different for you if you have a different user. Whatever the username you have provided, that would be the directory name. This is this directory. If you comment this one, this is the Linux home directory, which is also called the tilde. So if you want to type in cd tilde, it goes in directly to this one. And of course, and this is the root directory. Everything starts from here. There is no separate C drive, D drive that you have to. There is no concept of drives. There is partitions, which is the underlying thing of drives. It defines a partition in the hard disk or SSD. But those are loaded into different names in this directory itself. You can have a partition that is for the home, you can have a partition for the this, and as we can see, the whole C drive is actually mounted at mnt/c. This is the whole Windows C drive. And cd home. Of course, if you do string cd tilde, we come to our Linux home directory, this one, and we saw about how to create directories with mkdir. So you can say mkdir test. I test it's test. That's okay. Test. And if you want, okay, this thing was wrong. We were supposed to write in test, but we wrote the wrong name. Then we use the command mv, which stands for move, but it can also rename while moving. So it can move to different. We can move this test directory to another place as well. For now, we will not move it to another place. We just rename this to test. Of course, this trailing slash is you can omit it as well. So the 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 way to write it is mv, then the source file, but is order the directory name. Files and directories are treated like a similar way in Linux. So if you anyway, most of the places where you can copy or move, you can specify the directory name as well instead of a file name, and it works on the directory. So you say this is the my source directory, and I want to move it to test. So basically, you what since there's a and it will rename the file or the directory test. Now if you say test ls, now if you come back programming and this one, so move ls cd mkdir. It's the same for direct copy that, and these stuff are actually uh, Linux commands, and you can actually if you want, uh, this is my Linux system. I was showing you this Windows in a virtual machine. This is a virtual machine which is running Windows, and inside that I'm showing you Linux WSL. But uh, in an actual Linux system also, this is, as you can see, my prompt looks different. It's multi-line prompts, but the same thing, same concept actually apply. And if you want to see the current working directory, pwd, which means the current working directory, you see I am also in /home/. Yeah. And if we say cd slash root directory, and if we ls there, you see that my ls is configured to show you more details than, but what you would actually see is ls. Go to this one. So you can see the similar type of directories also exist in my actual Linux system. Of course, and I have no if you type in mnt, there is nothing inside of mnt. I once used sda1, which is a different partition, but if you see ls slash mnt slash sda1, it doesn't have anything. We can actually remove it as well. But I don't have a C drive, so I don't have anything under mnt. And if you go back to our home directory, this is a home directory, and this one. Mm, this is how to move back, move around in WSL.